Hello, Mr. Tracy. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you very much, Lenny.
I just want to say I'm super grateful, first of all, for you to be here today. Thank you so much. I feel like this is the most important topic that we could possibly be talking about right now.
Yes.
Um, I think that a lot of people are are either at the cusp of great opportunity or at the cusp of possible trouble. Like what do you, if you don't mind, if you want to just start by just kind of what do you see right now in the landscape of business as it relates to AI?
Well, the AI is unlimited. The things that you can do with it are just shocking. I was at a dinner recently, and several people were saying, "I'm thinking about using AI," and so on. And two of them picked up the AI and put in the question, "Tell me about myself." And AI spit out 10 factors about themselves and their family and their marriage and their career and everything else. And they were just astonished. And they kept putting in other questions about myself. What's the best thing for me to do if I want to earn more money? And they got 10 answers. And it's unbelievable. AI reaches into the cloud, and the cloud is where all the information in the world is now stored. And whatever question you ask it, it has access to all the answers that have ever been discovered, and it gives it to you in a few seconds. And that's just one little example of almost like a parlor trick that entertains people. People doing it right there at the table, and they're asking questions and going back and forth, and it's fabulous. It's fabulous. I've written two books in a matter of less than 2 hours each, 120-page books on very complex subjects. And AI just writes the book if you give it the guidelines, if you give it the correct questions, and you cannot stump it. It's just a wonderful thing, Lanny, as we've discussed before.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Brian, well, first of all, let's say hi to the people that are joining us, if you don't mind, real quick. And this is actually live, not kind of fake live, which a lot of things are these days because of AI. This is
Yes.
not AI. To prove that, we'll say hi to Fire and Faith on YouTube. Hello to Uri on Facebook, and then Reminus from X. So, and then it looks like Miranda Digital is here from the UK. So, yes, this is not AI. This is real. So, and then we got Anas from Morocco. Yeah, go ahead and put in where you're logging in from. That would be awesome. And then Instagram is jumping too. Holy smokes, we already got almost 500 people on Instagram, and we just went live. We got hello from India, hello from Tunisia, hello from Argentina on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is jumping. And if you guys want to share this, that would be amazing, because if you know anybody that could benefit by understanding what's happening in artificial intelligence and how to take advantage of it, go ahead and please share. And then Samuel in LinkedIn said, awesome. Thanks, Samuel. And we got Simo from Germany. Anyway, good stuff. North Carolina, Samuel, awesome. Cool. So, Brian, what I thought we'd do today is just kind of go through what's happening and kind of give it. I thought, could you start with a historical perspective of because history repeats itself, right? So, like,
Yes.
if you look at the pandemic, like when the pandemic happened, I actually went back and studied the last one at 1918, and this one that just happened completely mirrored that as far as length, as far as some of the effects were a little bit different,
Yes.
but this is a major shift. Can you kind of go through some historical shifts that you've seen or you know about? Some of them you've seen, some of them you know about. Can you give it some historical perspective?
Well, one of the rules is that history repeats itself, only in different ways and at different levels. With regard to the Industrial Revolution, at that time everything was made by hand and individually. Then they began to produce factories and the factories brought together machines and a whole lot of workers at one place, and they could produce 10 times, 100 times what individual craftsmen were earning. Now, there was a revolution at that time. It was called the Luddites. A man named Ned Ludd led bands of people to attack the factories with clubs and speed up the machines. And and what happened was the fact of the Industrial Revolution. It sucked all the unemployed people into the factories. The husband and wife could support the children. Soon the husband could support the children. It paid for homes and cars and travel and everything else. But at the beginning, it was there was a revolution against it. Then we started the revolution with automobiles. You know, there's a funny little line that when the automobile was developed by Henry Ford, the newscasters came out and said, "Bad news for the horse carriage industry." Bad news for the horse carriage industry. Well, they were saying, well, there's so many people involved in taking care of horses and wagons and buggies and so on, but the streets were filthy and covered with horse poop, and people got sick from it. There were thousands of flies and everything else. And within a few weeks, a few months, a few years, the streets were clean, and people were traveling at greater distances and at greater speeds. It was a revolution that transformed America before any other country. And then the computer came along, and people said, "Oh my God, this computer is going to put all these little people out of work." No, what it does is that every time there's a technological advance, it frees people from tedious work, boring work, hard work, and low paid work. It frees them to move up so they learn new skills to operate higher level machinery. They are paid more. They can provide for their families at a higher level. It's a wonderful thing. So when the computer came out, and then um, uh, the idea of communicating on the computer, then a man named Jeff Bezos came along, and he said, you know, you could sell stuff with email, with a computer. And they said, no, 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 this is meant to be a communications device like Facebook. No, no, this is a sales device. So he came up with this idea, and the only thing he could afford to do was to sell books. So he started to offer best-selling books, and then second best-selling books at 30% off, but it took 7 days to get the book. And people said, no, this will never work. And he built an industry, Amazon, and he could use the name Amazon because it's the biggest river in the world. He was going to be the biggest supplier in the world. Before he finished, there were 300,000 people that approached him and said, can I sell my products through your channel? And Amazon changed the world. And today they're a $1 trillion company, and 90% of products that are sold and delivered are on Amazon. It's the most amazing thing. And now AI. And you saw the actors and actresses went out on strike and were furious that AI was going to take away their lines and their pictures and their voices and so on and so forth. And so they had the end of the strike and the end of employment for an enormous number of people. What happens is every time there's an advance in technology, there's a revolution of people protesting that it's going to put people out of work. But what it does is it creates more interesting jobs, higher paying jobs. It expands the possibilities of the individual so that they can earn more money doing more interesting and enjoyable things. AI is going to be the major source of income improvements. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA came up with a chip, and it's now become the most valuable 3 trillion plus company in the world, providing chips for AI. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. Your job, one job, is to say, how can I take advantage of this? How can I exploit it? And the first answer is learn how to use AI. Play with it every day. Ask it questions, get answers, ask it more questions. Write a book. You can write and publish a book now in 7 days. And what will happen, if you pose the questions, it will take the answers out of the cloud, put them on paper, perfectly written, and then you just organize it, like organizing the pieces of a puzzle, and you've got your book. As I told you, I did this with 2 books in less than a few hours each, and the books were beautifully written, half by me, half by my daughter, who's a PhD in psychology and psychotherapy. And then I wrote another book. And now I'm thinking of writing a third book and a fourth book. There's no limit to what you can do. Oh, this is wonderful. The AI revolution, your path to financial freedom. Imagine if you could double and triple your income in the next 12 months, maybe the next 6 months, maybe the next 30 days, and then double it again and double it again. That's what people are doing all over the world. And these people knew nothing about AI before they stumbled into learning the path that we offer to people who are interested in it. And once you have it, then you can run with it, almost like a fumble in a football game. You can run for yards, but you need to know how to use AI. But it's so simple to learn. If you don't know how to use AI, you've got to start immediately today. Lanny, what would
Yeah.
you say to that?
Yeah, one of the, thank you for that, Brian, by the way. One of the things that you said is, some people are going to go forward, and like you said, they're going to multiply so quickly, and the opportunity, I think one of the things I love about the opportunity is you don't have to be a technical genius. As a matter of fact, it's almost better if you're not. I don't think the barrier has ever been lower to somebody having a path to scale either their personal income or business. Because if you think about the internet, like when Bezos started, is, yeah, I mean, it blessed me. It opened up the world of commerce, to be able to sell all over the planet. But I think this is actually an easier path. You literally just talk to the thing and the thing does its thing. And then on this slide, you can see winners and losers. You mentioned NVIDIA. So if it's okay, I just wanted to highlight something interesting that backs up what you just said. Let me just show this. This is really interesting. This is NVIDIA. This is actually yesterday. You mentioned it. They're almost $3.6 trillion valuation, $3.6 trillion. The most valuable company in the world right now from a market capitalization perspective. And then look at Chegg. And then $1,000. This is really interesting, Brian. $1,000 invested 5 years ago in NVIDIA is now worth $27,667, which is really interesting. And then I see LinkedIn user says, I want to attend the San Diego event, but didn't get any response. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. I got your message. This is actually live, and I'll go check the direct messages. We'll take care of you. So you can relax. You messaged several times. I just wanted to put your mind at ease. All right. So let me go to the next one. Chegg. Chegg was a tutoring business. It's like a brick and mortar tutoring business. This business was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Their stock price was $113.51 per share on February 12th of 2021. Well, guess what happened? AI. So if you invested $1,000 in 2021 in Chegg, your investment is now worth $15.24. But that just goes to show you how rapid the redistribution of wealth is right now. And with redistribution of wealth comes great opportunity. And I love when I ask people, have you been messing around with AI? I love it when people say, oh yeah, it's like whatever, and they have like a lukewarm response. I just love that, because that means there's more opportunity for those of us that see what's happening. Anyway, so yeah, you're spot on, Brian. This is like the Luddite moment again, and I love the comparison. I don't know. We're not replacing horse poop. What would we be replacing right now? What do you think? Like, what is this? Like, do you have a?
Well, let me tell you a famous story. Henry Ford invented the automobile, and they started to manufacture it, and they did it the old way. And the old way was a team of people would build a car, and then that team of people would move, and they'd bring in all the parts and everything else, and that team would build the car. But it was a very slow and expensive process. So Henry Ford came up with this idea: we've got to get the car down so it's not a luxury, that every single person who works on building cars can afford to own one, which was absolutely revolutionary. And he didn't know how to do it, but one day he was sitting in his railway car next to a stockyard. And in the stockyard, he was watching the cattle come in, and they were processed in the abattoirs, turned into butchered meat and so on. And he said, this is amazing. Each person does a small part of the process. So he created what we call today the production line, and it revolutionized the world. With the production line, each person does one thing, and then the car moves on. So it's the car that moves on, not the people. And then somebody else puts another thing on another thing. And they got it to the point where they were manufacturing thousands of automobiles. They lowered the price dramatically. They could pay the auto workers. He doubled all of their salaries. And everybody said, this is crazy. You can't afford to do it. Yes, he could. And soon the average worker could afford to buy a new car, whereas before it wasn't possible. And it revolutionized the world. And what you have now with AI is what is revolutionizing the world. And some people said, oh, it wouldn't work. You can't use a production line to manufacture refrigerators. Of course you can. The AI revolution enables you to multiply your intelligence and your ability times all the knowledge that exists in the world today. You can accomplish more things with AI today than was dreamed of 5 years ago. The only question is learning how to use it. One quick story. When I started off writing, I've now written 94 books. I've sold millions of copies all over the world. But when I started off, the only way you could write a book was typing it. And so, but I couldn't type. I was a Hunt and Pecker. I could type with two fingers. And so I had to learn how to type. And I took a course from a company online that taught me how to type 50 to 60 words a minute. I've now written 94 books, hundreds of thousands of words in 55 languages. Why? Because I learned the skill that enabled me to multiply my ability. AI is the same thing today. It's hard to learn at the beginning, of course, but AI is very easy to learn. You can start using it really 1 minute after you load it onto your computer. Then you can use it at more and more and higher and more sophisticated levels. And that's what Lanny has put together is this marvelous course to teach you how to master AI very fast and begin getting financial results. Again, the question we ask is, would you like to double your income, triple your income? AI is the fastest, simplest, and most predictable way to do it. Lanny, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, so I want to answer a question if that's okay in the chat. So Samuel on LinkedIn says, will AI put marketing agencies out of business? And the answer to that, Samuel, is yes and no. Yes, it'll put a whole bunch of marketing agencies out of business, the ones that don't adopt AI and use AI to produce better work faster at a more efficient level for possibly a better price. But if they do it really well, not necessarily a better price, just at higher margin, right? So I'll give you an example of that, Samuel. So one of the things that I take on is I take on marketing clients and I do a complete intake form on that client. I ask them 30 questions, I record the answer, and I've created a custom GPT that's just for that business. And that custom GPT all of a sudden becomes something that's like a magic genie. If they want this, I create it. If they want something else, I create it. And it just happens just like that. So for you, Samuel, I would say get really good at this and you will be able to expand your clientele. So you'll be able to take on more clients and more revenue and decrease your workload probably by 80 or 90% if you're doing it right. And you'll have an unbelievably profitable agency. So, and that's happening everywhere. That's not just in agency world. Wherever you are in the space, those types of gains are there to be had, leveraging the tool. So I talked about Chegg. Let me go back to this really quick. I talked about Chegg being, just being outdated, because of what their business model was, and we talked about NVIDIA kind of being the tip of the spear on the valuation side. But there's a ceiling that's coming. So I thought we would talk about that because I think that's really relevant to what's going on. Here's the ceiling. The last version of ChatGPT costs over $1 billion to train. So imagine you have these GPUs in these data centers, and they're literally investing hundreds of billions of dollars into these data centers. Those are the things that drive the artificial intelligence. At the heart of those data centers is the NVIDIA chip. Their latest one is Blackwell. So NVIDIA is leading the charge, but what's happening is as the models get more and more expensive to train, so the last one is $1 billion, maybe the next one's 10 billion, then 50 billion. At the point that a model becomes $500 billion to train, the question the company will have to ask that's training the model is it worth it? And the answer at some point is going to be no. So what happens is you have this, the tool's getting better and better and better and better. And eventually it's just, they're going to be like, no, we're good. Like we're at this stopping point. So what's going to happen? Let me see if I don't know if I have a slide for this. Is there's going to be a trickle down effect. Okay. So right now, NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world. If you look at the next most valuable companies in the world, it's all the players that are in the game. Amazon, Meta, Google, obviously ChatGPT, everybody knows OpenAI is crushing it. And then below that, the trickle down from that are the data centers. These data center developers, the company that makes the cooling liquid, the cooling process for the chips is doing billions of dollars per quarter. And all they do is make the cooling element that keeps the chips cool. So what happens is once you have this ceiling that happens and people aren't buying more GPUs, then the venture capital or the money just flows down and it flows down. So as the models become more stagnant in their development, the money flows down another level from the data centers down to another level until eventually, hopefully it flows down to you. And that's where the real opportunity is. One of the things I want to talk about, Brian, that's really important is quality. And this is really interesting because, everybody's heard the term, or I shouldn't say everybody, but most people have heard the term garbage in, garbage out as it relates to computers. That's been around forever. But it's also true with AI. And something interesting happened recently. And are you allowed to talk about it? Because this is like, are you bound by any non-disclosure? Because I don't want to get you in trouble right now with your deal.
No, not at all. I'm not bound by any non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about it is that the AI. I don't know if let me just look really quick at the slide, make sure I didn't go. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, so I want to talk about quality for a minute. And Brian, you recently got approached. It's interesting because I was seeing in the what's happening in AI that they're investing these billions of dollars into the models, but they're not getting as big a gains as they were hoping for. And
No.
what they're finding is the model basically grabbed all the information, right? So it grabbed I've seen 10 different comments in the chat, no offense, but there's a lot of really intelligent people in these chats. I see some really great comments. Then of course there's always that one person, right? Or those two people, and they're in here right now. I see you. And that gets grabbed too. So it's grabbing all of the information. So what ends up happening is the quality gains on the model development aren't as great because the garbage that's going in is reducing the quality, which leads to something that's really interesting. You were recently approached by your publisher. Do you want to tell about that? Because this is very current. I think that's a really powerful thing to share, if you don't mind.
Well, this is one of the biggest publishers in America. They have 18 of my titles, which are sold worldwide in multiple languages. And what they've done is they have created a structure to protect their authors from having their copyrighted materials downloaded by AI and used in other materials. And it's a very sophisticated deal. They're paying each of the authors a certain amount of money to protect them, if you like. And it's quite wonderful because they are helping us sell more books in the original language. And so I really agree with them. I told them, I spoke to the publisher, I back you 100%. Whatever you decide to do, I'm with you. So he used my name and said, Brian Tracy is with us 100%. So most of the other authors that they had selected, the top 10, also joined up. And we're all protected. We all receive bonuses. We all earn extra money. It's a most amazing darn thing, and it's all because of AI.
Yeah, Brian. And the thing that's what amazes me about that is, for those of you that are already into AI and you're already using it every day and you totally like get it, you understand it. One of the questions I always get from our people that are in our group, our Brian Tracy AI team, is they're like, why are these custom GPTs that you guys create so much better than just Chat GPT? And the reason is because of the knowledge base. So for just as a little tip, if you're not getting what you want, putting in a really good high quality knowledge base and drawing from that information when you're creating your custom GPTs is a super powerful process. That's why our book writing tool, we had somebody in our group just the other day say, oh my gosh, I tried to write a book on AI without using the tool, and they were blown away at how much worse it was than the tool that we created. Well, the reason that ours was better, no offense. Well, of course, I'm not offending you, Brian, because it's you that did it. Your information is better than the internet's, so you have this like high quality thing, called Brian Tracy. And we basically took everything around how to write a book, all of your training, your programs, transcripts of videos of you talking about it. We put that into a knowledge base. Then we put on top of it a structure, a set of commands or instructions that draw from that knowledge. That then, the process is pretty cool. It asks you 15 questions, and then it gives you 20 choices of different book titles. And then it writes the book for you, all 12 chapters. Boom, boom, boom. Takes about 20 minutes. But if you try to do that with ChatGPT, you can do that for sure, but it's not going to be as good. So quality really matters. So I really wanted to hit on that because it's so important. And I think that's part of the reason why some people get discouraged too, because they put something in and they don't get what they want. And it is because of that quality gap. So I just thought that.
If I could just comment, I was just on the phone just before speaking to you with my publisher. And with this publishing company, I have published several books that have become worldwide bestsellers. And we're writing them and upgrading them and so on. Now, here's the most important thing about writing a book. It is getting published. Anybody can write a book today. It can be terrible quality. They can use the hunt and peck method and so on, or they can use AI. But if they don't get published, then they have to sell the book on the street corner one at a time. What AI does is it produces a very high quality book if they are working from the right model. And that's what our model does. It produces a book that is eminently readable. My publisher, I've been working on a new book. My publisher was telling me that this book is just beautiful, that he really has very few comments. It just reads so smoothly. And that's what happens when you use a professional book writing system like we teach in AI. You actually produce a book that is eminently readable and that publishers will publish because they know they can sell it. Remember, everything in life comes down to selling stuff. And if your book is readable, then people will buy it and they'll read it and they'll recommend it to others who will buy it and read it and so on. And that's what happens with the top seller. That's what happens with the bestseller, is that it's readable. And AI and our system will help you to produce a book that you can be proud of. You can be proud of for your children. You can be proud of for your relatives, for your parents. It's just a wonderful thing. Lanny, over to you.
Yeah, Brian, one of the things I wanted to share is why are we even talking about this? And this is, to me, this is the big point of what I'm hoping, and I'm sure you're hoping too. Whatever somebody gets out of this, because everybody is coming from a different place, but the reason for the historical context of, all the different things that you shared about, the horse poop on the roads and, Amazon cutting things, changing the game, is if you look at what, like, NVIDIA is the top, right? Because they're creating the GPUs. And then below that is all the language models, the LLMs and all the other companies that are doing that. Then there's the data center people and all these people. And then below this is going to be a million different opportunities. Like, no, that's actually undercutting how many different opportunities, literally tens of millions of different opportunities of all shapes and sizes. And the point of why we're doing this for you today is we're hoping that you find your tow rope to the rocket, meaning this thing's a rocket and it's going. And if you can grab on, you can create wealth like has never been created. It's never been this easy. You know, that's what's crazy. It's never been this easy. And don't get me wrong, it's not all that easy in that you actually have to work. So it's not a magic pill, but it's also never been this easy as far as the playing field goes. And having, I mean, they spent $1 billion training this last version of Chat GPT by OpenAI, and you have it for free, or you either pay $20 for it for the premium version. I mean, it's insane. Like, to have that powerful of a tool and not have to pay $5 or $10 grand a month for it just blows me away.
Lenny, I'm going to get something. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. And then what I want to do, let me see what's next on this little slide thing. I want to tell you about an opportunity, or one gentleman who took care of it. So check out this kid. So talking about finding your tow rope and attaching yourself to the rocket. Here's an example of a 17-year-old kid. So this kid started this app in April this year. Okay. April of this year. So that was, however months ago. And he's since April, he's done $12 million in revenue, $12 million since April. And all he did was make it so when you're counting your calories, because I don't know if you've ever used a calorie counting app. I have. And then you got to log this is one piece of bread. And what else is on my plate? 12 green beans and a piece of chicken. And you had to enter it all in. Well, this kid's like, hey, AI, just take a picture of your food and count the calories. 12 million bucks. So the cool thing about this is these types of things are everywhere right now, and it's only going to get more pronounced. It's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the key is to find your spot. You know, where is it and what is it that you want to do? I want to give you an example of like what can happen with a tech breakthrough. And I'm guessing Brian went to the bathroom, by the way. So, he'll be back. But I want to, if it's okay with you, I just want to share you a little background on how I took advantage of the last one. And the only reason I'm sharing this is for context of like what's happening now and what I experienced. So back in 2001, I was drinking a lot. I'm an alcoholic. I was drinking a ton. I had just been through a divorce. I was making no money. I actually was I was couch surfing. I was living on friends' couches. I didn't have a place to live. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I don't know. It was bad. I was total, my life was a mess and I wasn't going anywhere. And I had 3 people die in my family in the same week. And it brought me to my knees. It was like one of those experiences. It was a God moment of just like, I remember having this moment. I was in the desert. I was actually in Palm Springs. That's where the funeral was, the 3rd funeral. And I was in the desert. And I just remember saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but all the stupid stuff that I did, I'm going to do something different. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was a fortunate time because the internet was just getting moving. And I had $800. A girl owed me $800. Her name was Andy. She paid me. I owed that same $800 to my friend Amanda. I called my friend Amanda. I said, Amanda, can I pay you in 30 days? And Amanda said, no problem. So I had $800. I had seed money. So what I did with the $800 is I bought some bats. They were actually fast pitch softball bats. I bought 20 fast pitch softball bats for $40 a pop, $800. I sold them on eBay. Okay. I made $500. And I'm not kidding you. It was like God spoke to me and said, this is it. I mean, I couldn't believe it because before that I'd had every awful boss you can think of. I worked for some really horrible people. I worked for some good ones, but I worked for a lot of really crappy ones too. And in that moment, I realized I made $500 in a week on $800. And this is the one time in my life where I have a degree in finance. This is the one time in my life where my degree in finance was worth anything. So I knew how money worked. I knew how money multiplied. So what I did is I created a spreadsheet. And on the spreadsheet, I said, what will happen if I don't touch the money? Okay. So I took the $800. I said, if I turn my money, my assumptions were this. I assumed I would get 10% return on my money. And I assumed that I would turn the money twice in a month. So in the spreadsheet, what the spreadsheet said was that after 3 years, there would be over $3 million. Now imagine, the most money I'd ever made in a month was like 4 or 5,000, so like it didn't even seem possible. But I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I said, I'm going to do it. And so what I ended up doing, and this was the best decision I ever made, Brian, I actually bought The Psychology of Selling. Back then it was in cassette tapes. And I put those on repeat. So what I did is I learned how to sell to eat while I was building my e-commerce business, my sporting goods business. And that $800 multiplied. And what was crazy is the spreadsheet that I created said that it would be over $3 million after 3 years. Well, guess what the revenue was at the end of the third year? The third year revenue was $3.35 million. Now, the reason why that happened wasn't me. Like, I did the work, but the reason why that happened was because the internet was booming, right? eBay was like a rocket, and I that's what I jumped on. I jumped on eBay, I jumped on Amazon, on Overstock. So I put my products in these channels that were exploding. So my point in telling you that isn't like, hey, look at me, I'm all this and that, because I'm not. But if you get in the right spot and you realize that you're there and you take advantage of it, it's amazing what can happen. And this is bigger than that. Like, to me, AI is the internet starting times 1,000. I don't know about you guys, but I sure wish I would have bought Bitcoin at 20 cents a Bitcoin back in 2010. That would have been nice, because then I wouldn't be here. I'd be on a beach somewhere probably, or I'd probably own an island or something, Brian. But anyway, it's like the point of us being here is to kind of say, hey, like, pay attention to this. Don't miss this, because this is happening, and it is really big. And one of the things that people used to talk about, Brian, is they talk about Amazon proofing your business. That was like the buzzword. Is your business Amazon proof, right? But AI is the new Amazon proof. It's like, is what you do AI proof? And for some people, the answer is yes. And for some people, the answer is no. If I'm a plumber right now, I'm safe. Like, I'm good. And like Samuel said, he owns a marketing agency. The answer for him could be either way. If he embraces AI, he's probably just fine. He's going to probably make more money than he's ever made. If he doesn't adopt it, he's done. And I think that the reality is the companies that adopt this technology and use it for automation and to grow revenue and to make it more efficient are going to make a whole lot more money. And the ones that don't are going to go away. Like, for
very important point. I often tell my audiences that there are 3 factors that are going to determine your success, your income, how much you earn, how much you keep. And the 3 factors are competition, competition, and competition. And what happens with high technology like AI is that the world is full of people who are very, very eager to earn more money. And they're working 16 hours a day. They will do anything to outperform the competition. So your income is determined by your competitors. If your competitors take advantage of AI and you don't, you have no chance. You'll just basically struggle. Now, we've talked about this before, but there's an 80-20 rule that was developed in 1895 that says that 20% of people earn 80% of the money in every industry, and 80% of people have to fight for the 20% that's left over. The 20% of people are the people who adapt new technologies faster, like Jeff Bezos and Amazon. They adopt the new technologies faster than others. And it's a game of what I call perpetual leapfrog. When you develop a new skill, your competitors everywhere will leapfrog over you with something even better. And you have to leapfrog over them with something better and faster, and they have to leapfrog over you, and it never stops. People say, well, when is this competition going to stop? It's as long as people are alive. And of course, we have a free society, which means that you're not competing with 100 or 1,000. You're competing with 1 million or 10 million people. There's 29 million small businesses in America, and they're growing at the rate of millions each year. In other words, you really have no choice. If you want to be wealthy, if you want to live in a big house, drive a nice car, and provide your family with all the good things in life, you have to be on top of new technology. And as soon as you get on top of technology, your competitor will jump over you, and you have to jump over your competitor. And that's what we are working to help our clients to be the leaders in the industry and not the followers and not the left behinders.
Yeah, Brian, I totally agree with that. And the other thing that's great about that too is I think there's a big opportunity too, because so many of these business owners are so engrossed in the day to day within their business. I think there's a huge opportunity to help these people, with these tools for small businesses. People like Samuel, when he says, or is it Samuel, I think, that does that marketing agency? It's like all of these different businesses need help. Question is who's going to help them? And then I have a little slide here. Let me go back to it if I can. And it's like, what's the process? The process is really to just identify something. And one of the big reasons why we're here today is literally just if you're sleeping, we want to wake you up. And just if you see opportunity, if you're open to it, you'll see it. If you're not open to it, then you won't see it. And it's almost as simple as that. You might be walking down the street and you see something, or you get inspired by something. You're like, wait a minute, that kid started an AI app by taking a picture of a thing instead of this thing. What's this thing that could be more efficient? And I bet because right now I haven't even looked at how many people are on here live. We have 608. We have, hang on a second. Let me give you an accurate count. We have 1,000 people on here live right now. If I asked you to, whoops, and I think I just killed Instagram. Yep, I sure did. Whoops, sorry, Instagram. I hit the wrong button. Anyway, I'll set that back up. But if you take all of these people that are here, maybe I didn't kill Instagram. No, we're still good. If I said, like, what's a process that you see in your daily life or that you've experienced lately that could be made more efficient by AI, I guarantee you there's like $10 million ideas right now. And if we waited 5 or 10 minutes for people to actually stop and think, there's probably 100. So I'm just curious, just to play around with this idea, because we have so many people on here. Can you think of something right now that would be made more efficient as a result of AI? Like, what's inefficient right now? Think about Uber, right? What did Uber do? It made getting a taxi way easier and way cheaper. They disrupted the taxi transportation industry. Like, what's something that you see on a day-to-day basis that could be made easier, could be made better, and start there, because the key to creation is to stop and think every once in a while. Because people get so busy, and I'm guilty of it. Like, I don't know about you, Brian, but I get on my daily grind and my routine. How many times, like, in a day do we stop and go, okay, I'm going to sit down for 10 minutes and just think of $1 million idea? What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, the interesting thing is that most of the great breakthroughs are people who were irritated by some obstacle to their life satisfaction, home, work, something else. And there was an obstacle that was holding them back. And so they started to think, how could I remove that obstacle? How could I smooth out this process? And they came up with a new idea, just like Amazon, and taking orders and delivering and acting as the go-between between the manufacturer. It's just an amazing thing. And then people talk about fast food. The McDonald's people came up with this way of preparing and delivering really great tasting, fresh fast food. Now they have 36,000 restaurants and have created more billionaires than you can count. Each time somebody saw a way of making it faster, better, cheaper, easier for themselves and for someone else. And AI opens the entire world of possibilities to you. All you have to do is ask it questions, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to know and what you need to do to create a $1 million business. So that's one of the things that excites me. And I'm a little bit, I'm more mature now than I was some years ago. It means older. But even at the age of 80, I'm motivated almost like a kid at Christmas with AI because it's such an exciting process to use. And I can sit here and just put in questions and put in more questions, and the answers that come back are just amazing. You cannot believe that you can do this, and so I really love the activity. But also, it's an incredible money making opportunity that's never existed before.
Yeah, and then Brian, this just to have some fun with somebody. Sud here on YouTube said, "Is real Brian Tracy live?" So do you just want to say his name so we can prove that we're actually live? Go ahead.
Yes, yes, it's me live, and I'm happy to be here with you. You know, it's interesting. The people on this call are some of the smartest and most advanced people in every society and every industry because they're constantly exposing their mind to new ideas. And most new ideas will not be helpful, but occasionally one idea combined with another idea will make you rich and save you years of hard work. So thank you for being on this line with us. Thank you for being open to new ideas. Thank you for asking good questions because that proves the caliber of the person that you are. You are obviously a cut above the average person.
Yeah. And then Brian, one of the points that I wanted to bring up is why now? Like, why is there urgency behind this? I know I'm operating with urgency and almost not, I don't want to say fear, but I think there is some fear driving me in a good way. And it's because I really think we have a limited runway on this. And what the reason I think there's urgency is because what's going to end up happening is, like, right now there's this window of opportunity. I think the window is going to last at least 5 years, but once it gets to artificial general intelligence and the next wave of technology is going to happen, it's actually going to take a lot of the things that are created over the next several years and make those things obsolete. So, like beyond 5 years, it's like, who knows?
The reason for that, Lenny, is because of competition. Is no matter what you develop, there's going to be somebody right behind you, as we say, chomping up behind you to try to jump over you with something superior. So if you are going to be a player, you have to be prepared to compete. And you have to be prepared to compete with the best in the business. Just like if you're a sports team, you can't choose to compete against lesser quality sports teams. The very fact that if you're in the game, if you're in the league, you have to go up against the very best that are there. It's the same thing in business for the rest of your life. You have to constantly be beating the competition, constantly be raising your game. And AI is today the most important game changer that's out there, and you need to master it. Just like you drive a car or ride a bicycle, you need to master AI. So if you're going to do it sooner or do it later, my recommendation is do it sooner. Do it now. Get on with it.
Yeah, and one of the things too, Brian, actually, if I don't, I'll just address something in the chat. On Instagram, Natalia said, "Pity I joined too late." So Natalia, just so you know, the recording of this isn't saved on Instagram, but it is saved on all the other socials. So you can go to Brian's YouTube channel, Facebook channel, LinkedIn, X, any other channel, but Instagram will have the recording of this. So don't sweat it. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of address that really quick. Yeah, so let's see what else we got next. Yeah, so if it's okay with you, Brian, I thought I would talk a little bit about our program and how we help people with this. Well, first I should ask, let me ask the group, do you want to hear about this? Because I hear some people mentioning, like, how can I learn this? So put yes in the chat if this is something you want to learn about, how we help people. If you don't, say, don't say yes. And if nobody says yes, then we'll end it right now and call it a day.
No, just
So,
please tell us how
all
to.
right. And then Marcella Garda says yes, and Lashes Day Anna says yes. Anna, I bet you do great lashes. Ronan 818 says yes. Lulio, yes. Okay, we're getting lots of yeses. And yeah, Jeremiah, yes on YouTube. Farouk, yes. Fire and Faith on YouTube, yes. All right. So here's where I think what we do is really good. One of the things that I'm a big believer of is it's one thing to learn something. I don't know about you, Brian. I'm a very experiential learner. If you put a book in front of me, and I have read your books, but honestly, I've gotten more out of listening to your programs than reading them. And there's something about the repetition of listening that for me works. I think everybody has a different modality of learning, based on different personality types. But one of the things that we try to do, well, I don't, we do it, is we give the fish and teach how to fish, because I think if you just give the fish, there's that old, I don't know if it's a proverb or what it is, but it's like if you give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. And what we do is we do both. The giving of the fish is in the form of these custom GPTs. I don't even know if it's on the next slide. Yeah, custom GPTs powered by that guy. And as many of you have said in the chat, that guy is a very smart guy, and I agree with you. So what we've done is we've taken, like Kirk just says, listen to Eat That Frog right now. So I'll take Eat That Frog, for example. We took Eat That Frog, we uploaded all the content around Eat That Frog, we turned it into a custom GPT. So now it eats the frog for you. As far as book writing goes, we took his whole book writing program. Brian's been selling a book writing program for $500 for years, and people buy it and they love it. Well, now we took all of the education, all of the learning around all of that. We packaged it inside a custom GPT that writes the book for you. Total Business Mastery, one of your classic programs, Brian. We took all of that content, turned it into a custom GPT. It does it for you. What's the other one? But basically what we're doing is we're taking all of what Brian has done over the years, his legacy of information around all these different areas of business and life, and turning it into custom GPTs that, in the old way, you'd buy one of Brian's programs, you'd read it or you'd listen to it, you'd write down in a workbook, and you'd learn from it, and it would be great. And I bet if I said, how many of you that are here live, and we're over 1,000 people, have had your life changed by what Brian's taught? And just say yes in the chat if Brian's had a massive impact on your life. I know it because I've already seen people mention it in the chat. So it's basically taking what Brian's done, creating a custom GPT around it, and it's done for you. So instead of having to learn it, you actually do it, and it produces a result for you, if that makes sense. So it's a really powerful process. So you're speaking to, oh, Brian, I didn't tell you this. Holy smokes. Can I tell you about something that just happened? This just happened.
Absolutely.
And okay, so check this out. A guy in our program, our AI program, his name is Earl. He did we created a custom GPT around your speaking product. Okay, so there's two parts to the speaking thing. One is helps you find gigs or speaking engagements, and the other one helps you create the speech and run your whole business. So what happened with Earl is he used it, and he ended up there was a call to entries for this worldwide nature conservation conference in Japan. I mean, this is a global conference. It's in that industry, or in that thing. It's the biggest one in the world. And he used the GPT. This is a true story. This just happened 2 weeks ago. He used the GPT to do his whole entry, and they immediately came back to him with some questions. He loaded the questions into the custom GPT. It gave him the responses. He sent back the responses, and they're having him speak at their worldwide conference in Japan next year. It's unbelievable. Now, would that have happened without the app? And the answer is absolutely not. He probably wouldn't have even entered, but he entered because it was so easy, It's taking a process that could take a lot of time, making it really short, and producing a better result than somebody could do on their own. Isn't that crazy?
Well, and I know that it will shorten his learning curve by 5 to 10 years, which means he'll be earning in 1 year what he would normally be earning in 5 or 10 years if everything went right. And that's fabulous. It's just sort of, he's been put to the front of the line, if you like, in terms of his success. That's a wonderful thing.
And then the other funny thing too, Brian, is he said the feedback they gave him was they said it was the best submission they've seen in years,
Oh,
which is we just laughed. And then I asked Earl, I said, Earl, like, how did you feel when they told you you were in? And he goes, I was just stunned. He said, I was just stunned. He goes, I couldn't believe it. So anyway, so why are these tools so powerful? The reason is because of what's inside of them. Again, ChatGPT and all the different language models are great, but it's garbage in, garbage out. If you have a better core of information that you're operating from, then what you can create out of that is really cool. So that's part of what we're doing as far as the giving a fish is giving these powerful tools. But the teaching to fish is teaching how to interact with the tool so that you can discover what that thing is for you. Or if you already have a business, how to massively scale it, or scale back costs or scale up revenue. There's two ways. There's a lot of ways to make money in business, but it's basically get more money in and be more efficient.
Lanny, let's cut to the chase. How do people take advantage of this program?
All right, so let me get to that. All right, I'll skip this then. There's basically how we design this is because it's really, I don't know, it's important that it's not just for the people who already have big businesses. So we tried to create something that would help anybody and everybody. So there's really 3 types of groups, and we have basically 4 different things that we do. One is established, medium to large businesses. These are the businesses that are doing over 10 million a year. Your growth minded, scaling to startup, that's kind of your 1 to 10 million a year range in revenue. And then aspiring entrepreneurs, that's people that don't have a business or are just getting started, maybe a solopreneur that's looking to multiply themselves. And we've tried to create programs for each one of these groups and make it affordable for each one so that it becomes a no-brainer. The top program, this is for businesses that do over 10 million a year. We're talking about 180,000 a year investment, which comes out to about 15 grand a month, which for a big business is nothing. If they can create a little bit of efficiency, they got this paid for in a heartbeat. Actually, if they just replace 2 or 3 processes that are inefficient that people were doing, for full-time positions, then this becomes a no-brainer. So the top position, this becomes like an agency model. Basically, we're doing the work for them. We're creating automations. We're looking for inefficient processes and then inserting AI into the processes, into the automation of the businesses, and finding places to interject that. Then from there, a step down from that, we have for our medium-sized businesses, a program that runs about 30,000 a year, and that's for kind of the small business to up to 10 million or so. And that we're not doing it for you. Basically, we're doing it with you, and there's a lot of one-on-one time with that, so you're getting individual attention. But it's up to you to implement what you're hearing. So it's not a done for you implementation. And then we also have for the smaller startups or solopreneurs, we have a program that's a group coaching program. Included in this is all the custom GPTs that we build. And they're really something else. They're really amazing. So you get all the custom GPTs. We meet live every week. We do hot seats on those. So we look at the person's, what they're doing, what they're creating, give feedback, live feedback. And the people in that are really, really loving it. And then we also have a program for people that are just getting started. And it's only $3,000 for the year. And what we're doing there is we give recordings of some of these $10,000 sessions. And we have a process. We also give all the custom GPTs that we create, which are amazing. And then, Brian, the other thing they get is all of your products that we create. So anytime I take, how to write a book and I create a GPT for it, they get that. The speaking program, the apps, they get that. Total Business Mastery, that's included. So all these things we're creating of yours and turning it into an AI program and done for you AI stuff. they get all of that. And we're really, what we're trying to do with these people is trying to help them find their spot. You know, if you have a business already, it's a no-brainer that you just work on that and make that better. But if you don't, you need to find something, and we want to help you find that thing, and then we want to partner up and get beside you and make sure you follow through. And I'd say the other thing too, Brian, is accountability. You know, because accountability is huge. You know, if accountability didn't matter, everybody would be fit and happy, and you know, everybody would make a ton of money. But the reality is, it's not the case. So we also hold people accountable to make sure they're making progress and moving along. So those are the different ways that somebody can jump in. And if you are interested, is anybody interested? Because if you're interested, I'd be happy to share a link, and you can talk to a member of our team. If anybody says yes to that, I'll put a link in, and you can talk to somebody. It won't be a high pressure sales pitch, so you don't have to worry about that. And we'll just see if it's a good fit. Because the last thing we don't want anyone to be in there that's sold. We want people that want to participate, because what we're creating is a community. It's a team. And the stronger the team, like a rising tide lifts all ships. And the stronger the team is, the higher the tide raises. And I can tell you that the people that we have in there, we have a president of a university in our group, which is amazing. Which I wouldn't have. When he joined, I was like, "Are you sure? Because aren't we the enemy?" And he loves it. And we have like a diverse group of really amazing people. And I'd say
Lanny,
yeah, go ahead.
We're convinced. We're convinced. Give us the address. How do we contact?
All right, sounds good. All right, hang on a second. Let me grab it. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm grabbing it. Here it is. Oops. Hang on, Brian. Let me just take a second. I had it.
It's called Selling Past the Sale.
Gotcha. I need to go back and listen to the audio again, or to the program again, it sounds like. Yeah, hang on one second. All right, there we go. And hang on, there it is. All right, got it. There it is. Put it in there. There's the link, and there's the link. And then I don't think sometimes Instagram links aren't clickable. So I'm putting it in the chat there, but that can be a challenge. So if you're having a challenge on Instagram, let me know. And then let me go back to that. Anyway, so thank you, Brian, for everything. I really appreciate you. Nathan goes, "We sold," with crying, laughing emojis. Nathan, yes. Brian's like, "Get to the point." So Brian, I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure. I just want us to continue to help people to improve their lives faster than they ever could do it by themselves. And that's what's most important, but especially in a competitive world where everyone else is also determined to improve their lives faster than you. You need every help you can get. You need every resource to get ahead and stay ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And then for those of you on Instagram, I know the link doesn't work. That's kind of a common thing. So I'm going to try and create a real basic link for you here pretty quick. Actually, let me see if it has one built in. I'll work on that. Anybody have any questions? Brian, do you have a minute for questions, or do you need to go? And if you have to go, I totally get it.
Sure. Let's take a couple of questions, Lenny.
Okay. So anybody have questions for Brian? Because like I said, we're not fake live. We're actually live. Letty says, from Instagram, says, "Who were your mentors when you were getting started, Brian?"
Well, I have read 6,000 books in my career. I've invested 150,000 hours, I think, in studying and researching. I would say my mentors have been the top people in each field. My favorite is Peter Drucker, the management guru, but I've also studied all the time management experts. I've studied all the sales experts. I've studied the strategic planning experts, and I just gobble up new knowledge, and I turn it around and strain it through my own personality, and then teach it to others. So I've got almost 5 million students in 84 countries. who have taken my material written on video or in book form. And what I have is a unique ability to simplify complex subjects. And I do that by spending hundreds, even thousands of hours studying the subject and then making it so simple that a person can learn it and apply it and get better results immediately. But there's never been one person. There's been so many of the very best brains in history have helped me.
All right, Brian. And then another question we have from YouTube is, do you still believe in the law of attraction?
Yes.
And then, by the way, can I say one quick thing?
Sure.
I'm going to get out of the way because I actually figured out how to get a QR code for this thing. So I know Instagram people had a problem. So I'm going to leave this QR code up while you answer that question. So go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I just finished a book which is out. It's in 12 languages. It's called The 32 Absolutely Unbreakable Laws of Business Success and business success and money. And the first 12 laws are mental laws. And one of the mental laws is, of course, the law of attraction. But there's 11 other mental laws which are working 24 hours a day and which have an enormous effect on your life. And then there's 20 laws, which are laws of money that expand from the laws of attraction and the mental laws. And it's a fabulous book. Many people who read it say it's the Think and Grow Rich of the 21st century. But it's very good. And the law of attraction is in there, and it's a very powerful law. One point, when you write down a specific goal that you want to achieve, you activate the law of attraction and it starts to work 24 hours a day to attract into your life all the resources that you need to achieve that goal. What you need, though, is clarity. You need to write it down so you're absolutely clear, and the whole universe will conspire together to bring you that goal. If you want to master AI, write it down as a goal, and everything will conspire to help you to achieve it. You'll not only attract the resources you need, but you'll attract yourself toward those resources. So please, you have so much power in your mind when you are clear about what you want. And the only way you can become clear is to write it down, write it down, write it down.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. And I see a couple of comments. Jose wants to master AI on Instagram. Good for you. Lashes Diana says it's helping, but still figuring out some details. And which book? What did I miss about LA? All right. Anyway, Brian, I think let's call it a day because I've used so much of your time already, and I really appreciate you doing it. We're definitely over time, so thank you so much for everything you do. I'm really grateful for you, and I'm sure I speak for everybody. Well over now, we're almost well over 1,000 people. I'm sure I speak for every single one of them when I say thank you for all you do.
And I say thank you for being here. Thank you for investing your time with us, because this means that you are the elite of the future. Wherever you are today, your future is potentially unlimited. So thank you again. Good luck to you. And write to me if you like at briantracy.com, and I'll reply. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Brian. And thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you, Brian.